Hello everybody. So, if you weren't aware, yesterday, Sunday, I guess it would have been the 11th, Sunday, June 11th, Puerto Rico, or Puerto Ricans, voted to become a state. Now, they had three options that they were voting for yesterday. It was to either become a state, stay a U.S. territory, or become an independent nation. Now, obviously, they were something like 1%. Oh, before I get into the numbers, it should be noted that only 23% of the available voting population, or of the voting population of Puerto Rico, showed up for this vote. So, only 1%, around 1%, voted to become an independent nation. About 2% said stay a U.S. territory, and 97% of that 23%, mind you, 97% voted to become a state. Now, just because they voted to become a state does not mean it is set in stone. There are still legislative processes, and Congress has to approve it, and so on and so on. This is where you come in. You need to write an email and call your congressman and tell them, fuck no, we do not want Puerto Rico as a state. We do not need a 51st state. We could probably actually stand to lose a couple states. California, New York, more specifically. We could stand to even lose a couple states. But with that being said, Puerto Rico is $75 billion in debt to the United States right now as a U.S. territory, with absolutely zero way of paying it back. They have little infrastructure. They have little reliable infrastructure. They have basically no exports. If it weren't for San Juan, and if it weren't for some of the touristy areas, it certainly would be a third world country, which most of Puerto Rico is if you've ever been there. If you've ever been there, find like the deepest, darkest armpit of like Chicago or Detroit. You know, that place you don't even go in the daylight, much less at night. That's Puerto Rico. I've been there like 6 times. I've been there 6 times because when I lived down in the Caribbean, which isn't really any better off, but when I lived down in the Caribbean, I had to stop into Puerto Rico every time I went to and from the States. And most of the time it was overnight because they didn't know how to run an airport. And planes were always breaking down, flights were always delayed or canceled, so on and so on. Anyway, that's just a small portion of what you can expect to see as Puerto Rico as a state if it was able to happen. Now, this is, I believe, the 4th or 5th time they've voted for it, and they've never had it pass through our Congress. So I don't really feel like there's a big danger in it passing this time. But if you could take 5 minutes out of your day, email your congressman and tell him we do not need another welfare state. And that's the only thing it would end up being, is another welfare state added to our flag, added to our country. We do not need a 51st state that is going to be nothing but a blood-sucking tick that will slowly kill our economy. Okay, that rant's over. Yeah, get a hold of them. I highly doubt it's going to happen this time. Like I said, 97% of 23% of the voting population. It never passed before, mainly because they said they couldn't justifiably pass it because so few people turned out for the vote, that it wasn't representative of the voice of the island. So, that's all. Check it out, look it up, there's all kinds of stuff online about it. Talk to you later.